There's a conversation happening right now in advisor offices across the country. Client walks in with $900,000, maybe more. The advisor pulls up the projection and shows them the line going up and to the right. Advisor says, "You're in great shape." Client leaves feeling good. And somewhere in that meeting, usually in what nobody said, is where the plan falls apart. I've been a fiduciary for over 20 years, and the most expensive mistakes I've seen weren't bad investments. They were gaps, things that were never discussed. Today, I'm going to show you exactly what those gaps look like and the one question that will tell you whether your advisor has actually closed them. Let me start with something most people don't think about when they walk into their advisor's office. There's the friendly person at the bank. And I want to be clear, they're probably genuinely friendly. Probably knows your name, remembers the kids' birthdays, and makes the whole thing just feel easy. But there's a structural difference between the advisor and a fiduciary that almost no one ever looks at. And it matters more than almost anything else in the relationship. You see, a fee-based advisor can charge you a fee and also earn a commission on certain products they recommend. It doesn't automatically make those products bad. It does create a structural conflict of interest that's worth understanding. A fee-only fiduciary is compensated solely by you, which means their legal obligation is to put your interest first, regardless of what they recommend. A fee-only fiduciary is legally required to act in your best interest. Same suit, different job description. And that distinction, that structural difference, is a big part of why two people with the same $900,000 can get completely different answers to the same question, "Are you fine?" Because fine is not a universal standard. Fine is whatever the person across the table is optimizing for. So before I tell you what fine actually looks like, you need to understand why most plans only get part of this picture. Because if you miss the next part, the framework I'm about to walk you through won't make any sense. See, retirement planning is more like a liberal arts or interdisciplinary degree. It's just not one thing. It's 8 or 10 interlocking pieces: income, taxes, investments, estate, healthcare, and the timing of the levers that you can pull. And the closer you get to retirement, the faster those Tetris blocks fall. You've got less room for error and less time for recovery. And some moves that made really good sense at 45 are no longer available to you at 63. So what does the full picture actually look like? Let's build it together. Now, before I walk you through the 4 things I look at with every pre-retirement client, you need to understand why most plans miss at least 2 of them, because the ones that get missed usually are the ones that cause the biggest problems. Let's start with the math that most plans do, and the math they skip. $900,000 sounds solid, and depending upon your situation, it very well may be. But the number on the statement isn't the question. The question is, can that $900,000 actually replace your paycheck? And for how long? Many retirement projections assume a clean, kind of linear return. Markets go up, markets draw down at a steady rate, and everything works out. But there's something called sequence of return risk. And if you hit a significant market downturn in the first 3 to 5 years of retirement, while you're drawing income, that math changes dramatically. You're pulling money out of a shrinking account. That money can't recover in the way that it would if you were still working and contributing. Yeah, and then there's inflation too, and the one that most people genuinely underestimate: longevity. A 53-year-old retiring at 63 could easily be looking at a 30-year retirement. And fine that runs out at 79 isn't fine. So the first piece of the picture isn't just the balance, it's whether that balance can survive a bad sequence at the wrong time and still last as long as you do. And that's actually the easier piece to model. The next one is where I see the most gaps, and it's where most plans fall apart without anyone ever noticing. Retirement planning has been described as kind of a liberal arts degree. And I think that's exactly right. Retirement planning isn't just about investments. It's about taxes, estate, gifting, healthcare, and the timing of your Social Security. Now, these aren't 4 separate conversations. These are 4 interlocking blocks. And if your advisor is only touching one of them, if they're managing your investments and calling that a plan, what you actually have is an investment account with a really nice folder. The process I walk Every pre-retiree client through covers 6 different categories: cash flow, healthcare, assets, taxes, estate planning, and long-term care. And most people I talk with have never had all 6 addressed in the same conversation. Not because their advisors were bad people, but because most advisors aren't set up to touch all 6. Integrated tax planning? Many advisors refer that out instead of coordinating it with your investments. And there's a big difference between having a CPA file your return and having someone make sure your investment decisions are tax efficient in the first place. Estate planning documents? Oh, they'll tell you to talk to an attorney and just leave it there. Now, both these referrals can be the right move, but someone still needs to be connecting the dots across all of it. That gap, the space between what your advisor covers and what you actually need to be covered, is where the expensive surprises live. So that's the second piece of the picture. Not just what you have, but whether someone is looking after all of it, together, at the same time. Hey, if you want to go through that process for your specific situation, not just a generic checklist, but the actual numbers across all 6 categories, grab some time on my calendar. Link is right below this video. Now here's the part that keeps me up at night. Because the first 2 pieces, income and holistic picture, those are the things you can see. The hidden risks are the ones nobody warns you about until it's too late. Let me give you 3 real examples. There's an old line in this business: there's not much you have to apologize for in investing, but diversification isn't one of them. Back in 1999, I was doing a portfolio review for a prospect, kind of just a flyover, and what I saw was that he was all in on growth. Small cap growth, large cap growth, mid cap growth. Growth for growth's sake across every single account and every single dollar that he had. I pushed back. We had a real conversation about diversification. He made some moves. The dot-com crash followed in the next 2 to 3 years. He took some losses, as we all did. But because we had diversified, he recovered faster than he would have otherwise. That conversation, that one portfolio review, probably saved him from a situation he wouldn't have recovered from on his original timeline. It's 2016. A number of states have made cannabis legal. And the day after the news broke, a client called me and, on his own discretion, not mine, sold everything he had and moved it into cannabis-related stock. And about 4 days later, the federal government clarified their position on the matter. And to them, it didn't matter what the states decided. It was still illegal at the federal level. He turned $150,000, roughly, to about $50,000 in about 2 weeks. Pure concentration risk. Every dollar in one sector, one bet, no diversification as a backstop. And that's what made it catastrophic as opposed to just plain old painful. Just one unexamined decision made fast and in the wrong direction. Diversification, that's one thing in this business you don't have to apologize for. I have a friend who runs one of the largest retirement plans on the East Coast. They told me something a year or 2 ago that really stuck with me. They have multiple people on their team whose entire job, their full-time responsibility, is dealing with what happens when beneficiary designations on the 401k and pensions aren't updated. This is common enough that they have built an entire team around it. Your ex-spouse, your estranged sibling, your college boyfriend or girlfriend, you know, the one you didn't end up marrying, someone you haven't talked to in 20 years. If they're still listed as the beneficiary on your retirement account, they could be the first in line when something happens to you. And your advisor may have never asked. Because you see, beneficiary designations on IRAs and 401ks operate by what's called operation of law. That means they override your will. So it does not matter what your legal documents say, the money goes to the name on that account. A will, a trust, a letter of intention, none of that matters if the beneficiary form hasn't been updated. So the action here for you is simple. Pull every retirement account you have and check the beneficiary designations today, before anything else in this video changes what you do next. Estate documents are one of the most important interlocking pieces of this Tetris stack, and they're the one piece that falls completely outside of most investment advisors' scope. Hey, these 3 stories, they're not worst-case scenarios. They're patterns, things I see versions of regularly. Which brings me to the 4th piece of the picture, and that ties it directly back to where we started. Now that you've seen what FINE actually requires, the income picture, the holistic process, the hidden risks that sit outside the advisor's scope, ask yourself one question. Is your advisor equipped and incentivized to catch all this? Hey, this is not an indictment. Most advisors are good people doing their job, but the job they were hired to do may not be the job you actually need done. A fiduciary who touches on taxes, estate, investment strategy in the same conversation gets paid the same amount, regardless of what they recommend, is structurally different from someone who earns more depending upon what they put you in. And that structural difference is worth understanding because it determines whether your advisor is optimizing for your outcome or your comfort. And once you understand that distinction, my friend, you need a way to actually test it, which is exactly what the next step gives you. Here's the one question I want you to ask your advisor, and the answer will tell you more about the state of your plan than almost anything else. Now, it's not meant to catch them off guard or start an argument by any stretch of the imagination. It's a real question that will tell you a lot about whether your plan is actually as solid as you've been told. Ask them, when did you last analyze the tax efficiency of my distributions alongside my investment growth? A real answer will have a time frame. It will reference something specific about your situation. It connects your investment mix to your tax bracket, your Roth conversion window, your withdrawal timing, your IRMA exposure, when you plan to take Social Security, how you'll cover health care if you retire before 65, and whether charitable giving strategies make sense for you. And that last one, folks, isn't just for the ultra-wealthy. Because if you are charitably inclined at all, there are moves worth knowing. A reassuring non-answer like, oh, we're keeping an eye on that, or that's really more of a tax question, you should talk to your CPA. If the answer is never, or something that sounds kind of like never, that's worth knowing. Not to panic, but to understand what you actually have versus what you assumed you had. Because if you want to go through the process for your specific situation, your actual numbers, all 6 categories looked at together, grab some time on my calendar. Links below. We'll look at the full picture, not just a number. If this gave you something to think about, if it surfaced a question you hadn't asked yet, hit the like button. It helps more people find this conversation. 6 categories, interlocking, a question worth asking your advisor this week. And now a decision about what to do with that clarity. Most people get this clarity and then make one move that changes everything. And one of the most common and the most irreversible is getting your 401k rollover decision wrong. Most people assume rolling over is the obvious move. It's not always. Because once it's done, it's done. And that's exactly what my next video covers. It's the hidden 401k feature that could change your retirement. Watch it before you make any moves with your plan. It's up on the screen right now. I'm Tim Gardner, and I will see you in the next video.